Alright, hey guys. I'm just going to show you a little bit about MyMathLab. MyMathLab is the website we use for online homework. It's got a few other features though, so I wanted just to give you a quick tutorial here. So what I've done here, I've already gone through the registration process, or you will have by the time you see this screen. This is what you'll see when you normally log in, and you basically have a class list here with all the classes that you're taking in MyMathLab. So for most of you, it'll probably just be the one class. I teach, so I have a lot of different classes and some test classes I've made before. So anyway, I'm going to click on this one. This is probably a different one from your class, but it's the one I have that's going on right now. So when you click on that, you'll see basically the same kind of interface that I have. A few of the things that I have here you may not see, but for the most part, we use MyMathLab for online homework. So when you log in here, your only real responsibility is to do your homework. At least your only MyMathLab responsibility. So if you click on homework, you can go right to that. And what you'll see here is a menu showing basically all of the homework we've had so far, anything that's been assigned. So the first couple of sections here have already been due for the class that we're looking at right now, so I can't click on them and continue working. But if I click on this little link here, it'll take me to a review section where I can continue working on them for practice. But as I scroll down here, you'll see some sections that are still highlighted as links. Those are the ones I can click on to continue working on because they haven't been collected yet. So let me open up one of these real quick. This is a section from Chapter 3. When you click on a section of homework, you'll see basically all of the problems listed for you. Green check mark means I've done them and I've got them correct. Red check mark means I missed them. So I typically go through and do my homework that I assign for students, so I know exactly how the problems are going. But if I click on, let's pick one here, maybe that I haven't done yet. How about this one? Okay, so it takes a second or two to load up the first problem, and then it's a little quicker to go from one problem to the next. Now when I clicked just now, I clicked on, I think, problem, what was it, 21. Right, so it takes me to that one particular page. Okay, so basically what you see here, this is something from Chapter 3, so obviously you haven't seen this yet if you're looking at this video. But it wants me to simplify this expression, and I happen to know what the answer is. This is I to the power 17, and I happen to know the answer is I, so if I type I and press check answer, hopefully it will say great, so that's fantastic. If I go to a different problem here and I type in something that's not correct, I can hit check answer and it will tell me it's not correct. And it gives me some hints about how to maybe do the problem. Now with MyMathLab, a couple of things about the problems. Notice that once I get a problem right, it just puts a green check mark here. The green check mark is, I'll go ahead and leave this, it's back here on this homework page. It'll be there forever. Once you get that green check mark, it means you've got credit for the problem. Now when you miss a problem, it gives you a few attempts, and after you miss the last attempt, you get the red X. However, the way I have it set up, you can actually redo problems after you've missed that final attempt, but what's going to typically happen is it will give you a new attempt there. So notice I've missed this one. It's got the red X here. I can type in an answer, check answer, that's wrong. So if I were to keep working on it, check answer, that's wrong, final check, oh, it's still wrong, it tells me the correct answer. Well, even after you've missed it for good, usually after 3 attempts, you can click similar exercise and start all over again. Okay, so now I can work on this problem and hit check answer, and if I get it right, I will get credit, okay, as long as I'm working before the due date. I chose not to limit the number of times you can do this because I want you to practice and get them right and figure out how to do all of these problems. So, as long as you're honest about it and not just guessing hundreds of times until you get the right answer or whatever, it's, I think, a good system. So, a couple other things. There are multiple choice problems. There are problems where you have to draw the graphs and so forth, and there's a little bit more there. But on most problems, if it requires you to type something in, you'll see a little editor over here with some symbols you can use. Probably won't need any of these, but I could click I. I could also just type I in this problem if I needed it. Then over on the right side of problems, they have some features. Help Me Solve This and View an Example are kind of similar. They're basically help tailored to the problem. On most problems, if you click on Help Me Solve This, it's going to actually show you your problem. So sometimes when it does that, it will require you complete a different version of the problem. Okay, view an example similar, but it's likely something a little bit different than what you have. So if you watch the Help Me Solve This and it did your problem, it might give you a new version after that. But of course, you can hopefully translate what you've learned in that example to the new version. Okay, what else is there? There's textbook. If you click on this, I'll do that real quick. It takes you to the textbook, and on a lot of problems, if you want to go ahead and start on the homework right off the bat, that would be the first thing I would click on if I got stuck. I would say, okay, maybe I'm missing something. I don't know how to do this. The viewing an example is not helping or whatever. It takes you to the textbook and basically shows you where you need to be reading to get the basic ideas behind the problem. So this will take a second or two to load up. It's basically bringing in the E version of the textbook, and yeah, it's going to put me right here at the beginning of that section, and sometimes it'll take you to one particular part if there's something relevant for that problem, and then from here you could read a little bit and then go back to the problem when you're ready. Ask My Instructor, I'd prefer if you didn't use this. It just sends me an email to my Butler address. If you want to ask me a question, it's probably better that you email me in Canvas because I get it a little bit quicker. But if you use this, that's fine. Print you can use if you want to print a paper version of the problem just to take with you to go work on when you're away from the computer. So anyway, that's just some of the basic features. I know it's a real quick run through, but I just kind of wanted to show it to you. It'll ask me if I want to leave the page, and I do. And again, this is my progress. I can log out, come back, and work on this section again. Remember, you just click on the homework link to see the homework. Pay attention to the due dates. If the due date's coming up, you need to obviously have it done. Usually I make them do it about 11 o'clock at night. But we'll talk about that in the Canvas page for our class. The other thing you might come to my math lab for, other than doing the homework, is to maybe get some additional material. Kind of saw that e-textbook. If you click on chapter contents, you can go to any section of the book that you want. It has a few additional things in here, but if I just click on one of the sections, and I'll just pick this one, 1.3, there are a few options here. I can go right to the e-textbook. I can also watch a video presentation, which is, in this case, it looks like an 18-minute video just on what's covered in that section, and that's also a great place to start when you're trying to get ready before you start the homework. There is also a third option on a lot of these, work in your study plan. That's not something I use, so don't worry about that, but I think it gives you links to some example problems or something, but mainly the book and those video presentations I think are going to be really helpful. And then whenever you're ready, you can go right to the homework assignment because, again, if you miss them, you have a chance to redo most of them. So, okay, so that's basically it. A lot of these features I disable. I don't give tests or quizzes in my math lab. I give them in a proctored environment, so you won't see this in your class. Also, the grade book I have disabled just because all of the grades I bring to Canvas, and that's where your overall grade is for the class. The requirement here is basically for the homework, but there's a lot of good features here with the study plan. And of course, you can get a hold of me in the class if you have any questions about how to work a certain problem, or if the MyMathLab interface is creating any difficulties for you. Get in touch and let me know. All right, thanks.